And I get a lot of Georgia fans that, they might understand it, or maybe not even fans, maybe players or prospects that hear a lot about this star position. Well, what the heck does it even mean, Brooks? What do they do? What does the star position do at the University of Georgia? What does it do at the University of Alabama? Well, tonight, I'm going to show you that. But before we get into the tape, I'm going to tell you basically my requirements. And these aren't just mine. I would assume these are the requirements at other programs, right? At Georgia and Alabama. This is the profile of the type of athlete that they require to play this very, very pivotal position in their defense. And as we get into the tape tonight, you'll see why it is very, very pivotal that you have a great player, a very versatile player at this star position with the way in which Georgia and Alabama chooses to use this individual and this specific type of football player at this position. So the basic requirements, I got 4 of them. The number one requirement is you've got to be able to cover. I mean, flat out cover. You got to be able to cover in man-to-man situations against the best slot wide receivers in the SEC and in the country, and the best tight ends in the country. Because if you haven't been paying attention to college football as of late, tight ends play a lot in the slot as well. Kyle Pitts did a bunch of his damage from the slot position. So when you go play a team like Florida, or you go play a team like LSU in years past, as a star, you've got to be able to cover Kyle Pitts, be physical, be long, be rangy, be athletic enough and physical enough to run with a player like Kyle Pitts at 6'6", 235 pounds. And then the very next snap, based off alignment, you might be lined up against a guy like Kadarius Toney, who's 5'10", 5'11", shifty as all can be, and real quick and explosive, right? Two completely different ends of the spectrum. You've got to be willing and able to guard both of them in man-to-man situations. So that's number one. You got to be able to cover like a corner, basically is what I'm telling you, but be able to do it with the physicality in which if A-Rick Gilbert runs up on you, you best be able to handle him. In the future, if Oscar Delp runs up on you or Brock Bowers runs up on you, you best be able to handle them. These 6'4" and above, 230 and above tight ends that run sub 4.6, they're everywhere now. Everyone's got them. Some rosters have 2 or 3 of them on their roster. So you best be able to cover those guys and slot wide receivers as well. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you got to be rather comfortable in zone coverage, right? You got to be able to play man to man, but you've got to possess not only the short area quickness and the burst and explosion to be a difference maker in man-to-man coverage, but you've got to have the ball skills to be a difference maker in zone coverage. Because as we're going to show you tonight, you're not always stuck in man-to-man coverage. A lot of teams like Georgia against 3-by-1 sets, they play zone to the field against the 3 receiver side, whereas they'll just leave man-to-man on the backside. Okay, Alabama, Georgia, before Muschamp was getting fired, South Carolina, Tennessee before Pruitt got fired. All these programs run this same defense, this same 4-2-5 featuring a star at the nickelback position. All of them run it, so you best get used to this. This is how the evolution of defensive football against the spreads is ultimately going to happen. So the second one is you got to be able to play in zone. You got to be able to read the quarterback's eyes and make a play on the ball. We'll show you that as well tonight. In my third category, you got to be able to be a factor in the run game. There's going to be often times as a star position player where you might have been playing corner in high school, or you might have been playing safety in high school, but there's going to be times in college as a star where you're basically converted into a modern-day outside linebacker. You're in charge of coming downhill, running the alley, and meeting that ball carrier, or at least turning him back inside. So you best be physical and be ready to tackle if you're going to play this position. All these things, you'll see why we're talking about Terrion Arnold potentially playing in this position, or people of his caliber and of his stature, right? Big, long, physical defensive backs that might have played corner or safety in high school. Let's move them closer to the box. Now, my fourth category that I got for you is you got to be able to rush the passer. And this sounds like asinine for me to be looking at high school corners or high school safeties or, whatever it is and be like, hey, man, look, if you want to play this position, you best be able to rush the passer. And they're like, rush the passer. All I've ever done is corner blitz a day in my life. I've never, I've done it like 5 times in high school. I don't know how to bend the edge. I don't know how to fight with my hands. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Well, if you're going to play this position in college, you best be able to figure it out. And I'm going to show you some clips of that as well tonight.